Good evening, good evening. Happy Friday. It's Friday, man. Toast one up. The weekend is here. Welcome to episode 6, the Dome Podcast. First off, again, like I always say, I appreciate the love so far on the first five episodes. You know, the emails, the text messages, people sending me like topics that they like to hear me talk about, man. It's always a beautiful thing. You know what I'm saying? So I truly, truly appreciate it. I don't take it for granted. Leave a comment. Follow me on Twitter, Tony the Dome. Subscribe to this channel. Let's keep it moving, man. I'm humbled, I'm gracious, and one listen is great for me. You know what I mean? I'm just one of those people where you touch one person, you just never know, man. So I appreciate that. Let's get into it, though. Episode 6, Dope Boy, Hip Hop, Mafia Influence, Hip Hop, the crime of hip hop. Let's do this. We know that life imitates art. Art imitates life. You gotta think about that for a minute. We know that influence is real. We know that kids are impressionable, adults are impressionable. People in general see things that influence, whether it's entertainment, religion, different types of lifestyles. If it's pushed at you enough, you will or can be heavily influenced or fall victim to it, or whatever the case may be. It can change your life. It can make your life better. It can make your life worse. It can end your life. You know what I mean? So we know what that is. So when we talk about crime, hip hop, how does it relate to each other? Conditions, create lyrics. Why was hip hop even created? And since we're talking about mafia infused and dope boy raps, let's talk about American history real quick then. Because there's a start to everything. Or as Prodigy and Havoc said, start of your beginning. Or start of your ending. You know what I mean? So America was found on crime. Europeans came over, took land from the Indians, took lands from the natives, and anyone else who was already here. So when the United States was created, it was created on crime. It was created on murder. You can say in God we trust all you want to, but that's just not the case. Okay, well, you could have had the Bible in your hand, but you also had a gun in the other hand. So praise the Lord and hand me my shotgun, right? That's America for you, the wild, wild west. Right? Violence. You think hip hop is not going to have an element of violence when the forefathers created this very violence on this land? But we're going to blame hip hop for that, right? Okay. So let's fast forward. We're not going to talk too much about the colonies, slavery, and things of that nature. Let's get to the 1920s, Prohibition. Some religious groups and some other groups in America decided, you know what? We're going to just push the government to stop people from drinking beer. Okay, what happens when the government push people to stop drinking beer and things of that nature? Well, crime went up. The mafia was already in America already, but they got stronger during Prohibition. They created all types of underworld, illegal trade of alcohol and goods and things of that nature. They got more powerful because you had a small segment of America that pushed the government to make this decision to start Prohibition. We're talking about 1920 to like 1933, you had Prohibition. That led right into the Great Depression. During the Great Depression, what went up? Again, crime. During these times also, you had World War I, World War II, soldiers getting addicted to morphine and other drugs for pain and things of that nature. People were drinking more to cope. People was losing their loved ones, their husbands in wars, their fathers in wars, their brothers in wars. So the use of drugs skyrocketed. The use of violence skyrocketed. The underworld got powerful. You had the Italian mobs and the five families in New York and things of that nature growing. Then you had gangs in Chicago, in Miami. Now we're gonna get to Miami in a few minutes. So crime is becoming its own big business, or as KRS once said on By All Means Necessary, illegal business controls America. Right? Illegal business controls America. So you have all of this going on in the early part of the last century. And then we get to the Vietnam era, and then to the 70s. And Richard Nixon starts this war on drugs crap. How are these drugs starting to get into America? Do we need to go there? I mean, you've heard those stories over and over again. Was our borders that weak? Or somebody slide a little bit of money under the table? Probably a combination of both, but I'll let you decide. 7 is heroin, cocaine, all the party drugs. Remember hearing about Studio 54 in New York? Well, those studios like that, or clubs like that all over America, because drugs became rampant in the underworld and in the celebrity world. The more money you had, the better drugs you had access to. Then Ronald Reagan says, we're going to do this again. We're going to start again what Nixon was doing in the 70s, and let's do this whole war on drugs campaign again in the 80s. While people on the West Coast and other places in America is working with the Colombians and people in South America, getting all type of drugs in the communities, in the black communities, in the poor communities. But they focus on the black communities, of course, in terms of fighting this war, as if not only in the projects or in California, people on drugs, they're going to just overlook trailer parks and poor white establishments as well. We're just going to bomb on. We're going to knock down these black people houses for drugs that y'all didn't even stop from coming in. But that's another whole story. We'll get to that in a few minutes. Look, the government said war on drugs. Nancy Reagan said just say no. You had the whole Iran-Contra scandal. All of this mess going on in South America. Then coming up into Miami, coming over to the West Coast. Now you have all-out war in the black community, because now you have a lot of poor people fighting over dope money, fighting over blocks. And we'll get to the mafia part of that in a few minutes as well. But let's stick to the dope boy part first. Hip-hop is starting to make itself known. In the early 80s, yes, 70s, Herc and everyone, the parties and all that, but I'm talking about getting into the actual artists now. You heard Grandmaster Flash and Mel the Message. The message was they already saw what was starting to happen in New York. They were saying, damn, man, these streets are getting bad. See a lot of people on drugs. This is 1982 when the message came out. How are the conditions that bad from drugs already? Because the drugs are already there. Drugs were there in the 60s and 70s. People act like all of this happened in the 80s. Man, the drugs had started doing civil rights. I mean, really hitting the black community. You get what I'm saying? So this is, years in the making. Years in the making before we got to the message. Now the drug dealers are starting to get more powerful. The dope boys get more powerful. Schoolie D does the song PSK, Parkside Killers. Grandfather's gangster rapping. The gangster rapping dope boy is going to go hand in hand also with the mafia. I'm going to bring it all back together in a few minutes. He does that. Ice-T is influenced. It does 6 a.m. Police at my door. So they already starting that already. The brigades, boom, knocking down doors, man. And then we have NWA comes in the 87, 88 years. And rap is never the same anymore after that, because they give you that full picture of LA life. We hadn't seen it like that. We heard Ice-T. and you know, School of D's from the East Coast. But NWA, because of their popularity, they really showed you the gangster life. But the Dope Boys, Eazy-E, is basically the godfather of dope boy hip hop. Most people don't look at it like that, because you look at all these guys that's talking about dope and stuff in their rhymes over the last 35 years or so. But Eazy-E is the first really known drug dealer who was a rapper on a national scale. Now I know there's people who were so-called drug dealers before NWA, but Eazy-E is the one. He's the one. They're the ones on videos with guns and everything. You know what I'm saying? They only talked about in a glorious type of way. Ice-T made it a habit, you know, throughout his career to talk about the consequences. But the dope boy rhymes took off, man. Drugs took off in lyrics even more. Kool G Rap came, who is basically the godfather of dope boy and mafia or hip hop in New York. They call him Giacano. Okay, we're gonna get into these mafia names in a minute as well. So now you got G Rap on the East Coast spitting mafia infused rhymes. He's really the one. Before him, there really is no one spit it like him. You know what I'm saying? Same time he was spitting that, NWA was spitting gangster rap. So yeah, Public Enemy was trying to offset that with Night of the Living Bassheads. When they did Night of the Living Bassheads, they were trying to show you basically what Melly Mel and Grandmaster Flash were trying to show in the early 80s with the message. Night of the Living Bassheads was very clear-cut and to the point. In Winston-Salem, North Carolina, we call them rock stars. We call crackheads rock stars. Now, I know in every city, they call people on drugs something different, something demeaning, I'm sure, something that we're probably not proud of now, but that's what we call them. We call them rock stars here, the rocks, which is another whole thing. When you think about the government and what the government was doing to the poor and to black people in the 80s, crack versus cocaine, that's another whole subject for another day. Anyway, with the music, it got so bad where you had artists and groups coming out trying to offset a lot of negativity that was starting to be put in the hip hop early. So you had the Poor Righteous Teachers coming. You had the X-Clan coming. Again, we had Public Enemy already doing what they were doing. After Scott LaRock died, KRS-One and Boogie Down Productions started being more conscious because Criminal Minded was kind of was a gangster album. You know what I'm saying? But by all means, he talked about, like I said a few minutes ago, illegal business. You know, he talked about a lot of the injustices in America. He kept doing that on entertainment, sex, and violence, and throughout his career. So he was trying to offset that as well. Then, of course, you end up having, you know, the positive raps like your Native Tongues and everyone like that. But during that same time, again, Kool G Rap ended up fathering the mafia hip hop that became very prevalent in the mid 1990s. The dope boy rap never really stopped. You know what I mean? After Eazy and everyone started doing that, you know, leading on into the chronic and marijuana, people were talking about, you know, smoking chronic, which you got to buy it to smoke it, right? So the dope boy rap was all throughout West Coast culture. Is a part of the gang culture, of course, with DJ Quick and MC8 and everyone on the West Coast. But in the New York, of course, a lot of the guys started talking about their neighborhoods and their projects and all of the people that was famous in their projects for selling drugs. And really for New York, on the New York end and on the East Coast end, the drug dealers became more famous than the rappers. You know, the guy Alpo just died, right? You know who Alpo is. You know who Rich Porter is. You know what I mean? You know who a lot of the guys from Queens are. Kenneth Supreme, the Supreme Team. We know about at some point the Black Mafia family down, the BMF down in Georgia, in the South. These guys ended up being, at some point, Pappy Mason. You know, all these guys end up being legends in hip hop without being rappers. They became the new versions of your Frank Lucas and Nicky Barnes and all of these guys from way back. the 80s and 90s dope boys became a staple in hip hop. Nas talked about Pappy Mason and all these guys on Illmatic in 1994. Gangsters, dope boys were referenced in hip hop all the time. And then you had the mafia influence of the mid 90s. Because Coogee Rap did 456. And after that, you got Ray and Ghost, Only Built for Cuban Links. That's probably one of the biggest kind of like mafia. It's like a mafia movie, Only Built for Cuban Links. Right? AZ Do or Die. Sosa. Nas comes out. Nas Escobar. Nas started talking about being Nas Escobar on Eye for an Eye in 1995 with Mobb Deep. You see what I'm saying? After that, we started getting 50 Cent based on the real guy 50 Cent from Brooklyn, right? Big, right? Irv Gotti. You know what I'm saying? Scarface, Tony Montana, the mafia influence, gangster. You see what I'm saying? Rick Ross from Freeway, Ricky Ross, who we go back to this Iran Contras, go back to these 80s, West Coast, huge drug dealer. He ended up taking this guy's name. Yeah, his first big song, after kind of been on the shelf for years trying to get a deal, was Push It to the Limit. Then Every Day I'm Hustling, Dope Boy Rhymes. Now let's mix the Dope Boy and the Mafia and gangsters. Noriega, Capone, Al Capone. You know what I mean? It's just a long list, man. I mean, who else I got right here? Machine Gun Kelly, after the mob guys. You gotta remember, we started using what we saw in entertainment from the movies. So from The Godfather Part 2, what was the Scarface, The Goodfellas, Bronx Tale. These names start ending up in hip hop. Some of that was based off, some of those movies was based off, you know, Lucky Luciano, Al Capone, the Gambino family. A lot of that stuff was intertwined into Hollywood. You know what I'm saying? And in Hollywood, art imitating life imitating art. Now you're starting to get all of this infused into hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Now we're thinking it's still all gravy. We're thinking it's not affecting the youth. It's not affecting anyone. We'll get to that in a few minutes. Right now, it's just entertainment, right? No, hey man, it's your parents' job to you know what I'm saying, look after the kids, right? The music and pop culture has no bearing on your kids, right? Well, you know, that's another discussion for another day, but do you really believe that? So now back to this mafia and dope boy rhymes. 80s, we saw the rise of it. We saw the rise of the dope boy. We saw the rise of gangster rap. 90s, we saw the true rise of mafia hip hop, but the dope boy rhymes are still going on as well. It never stopped. It's still prevalent to this day. I was just talking about Pusha T on Twitter, and I was like, well, he's the one who I think is the best one at doing that dope boy rap. He's been doing it since like 2001 and never let off, and still kind of sounds fresh. It's the gift and the curse, right? He still talks about it, right? Jay-Z was a big dope boy rapper early in his career. He might be different now, but Reasonable Doubt was a hustler's theme. You know what I mean? That's really what it was. You know what I'm saying? So at the same time, you had the hustles like Jay-Z. Nas got It Was Written. You know what I'm saying? Where you get the Firm on now. Then the Firm album comes out a year after It Was Written, and that album is based on like Casino, The Goodfellas. The intro to it is basically a jack off, a rip off of a scene and stuff like that in the Mafia movie, Casino and Goodfellas, both of them. You know what I'm saying? So that's what it was about. It was about being influenced by the Mafia. It was about dope boy rhymes as well. They go hand in hand, even though most times in the Mafia back in the day, they didn't want to push drugs. That was their thing. They want to take over like companies and the trash industry and food industry. They really didn't want to mess with drugs like that. But at some point, and they had inner wars within the five families and things of that nature, because they really, half of them really forbid drugs because they knew that, look, let's sell the drugs down to Harlem to the black people, because they knew that if they start getting on drugs, it would mess their business up. Drugs is bad for business. Being high is bad for business. New Jack City, Pookie bad for business. Pookie got the Carter infiltrated, didn't he? You know what I'm saying? So again, we was kind of glorifying that, not understanding it. It went into the songs. How many songs? I did a list of songs. There's been pretty famous songs over the years. We said Push It earlier by Rick Ross. Bricks by Gucci Man. Kilo by Ghost and Ray. 10 Crack Commandments by Biggie. Dope Man by NWA. You get the Dope Boy stuff and the Mafia stuff going here, right? Friend or Foe, Jay-Z. Pocket Full of Stones, UGK. And I'm going to tell you, you can look up, there's hundreds of songs that either one, about drugs, or two, you'll hear Mafia type influence within the song. So where are we right now in 2022? Has it slowed up any? Nah, every other dude still talking about drugs the same way. You don't hear the Mafia in, antics in too many MCs anymore. I mean, that was more prevalent in the mid 90s. When it got closer to 2000, it was really back to Dope Boy rhymes and then the trap, because at some point the South really gathered a lot of steam, because at one point was used to Outkast, being eclectic, and before that Jermaine Dupri and everyone like that, unless you're talking about, of course, UGK and someone else, but UGK in the 90s was talking about drugs, you know what I'm saying? A-Ball MJG, you know what I'm saying? And then of course you had Master P and the Young Cash Money rather, and they was talking about hustling and things of that nature. But T.I. with trap music, Young Jeezy, Gucci Man, they really took Dope Boy rhymes along with Rick Ross to a whole new level in the early to mid 2000s. So to offset that, you still had somebody like Kanye West would offset that. Common, when he got the resurgence with Kanye, would offset that some, but and outside of that, not a whole lot of people. So you still had, gangster, dope boy type of rap, the trapping and things of the nature that kind of still, there was no real break. Once NWA dropped Dope Man, all the way up to right now with Griselda, there's really been no break in the Dope Boy rhymes. The Locks was large in that, and Jadakiss at one point. Like I said, Ray and Ghost was all about hustling. Pusha T on and off over the last 10 years hustling. So yeah, you'll get eclectic guys like Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole to try to offset it. But the Dope Boy rhymes never left. Why? Because the dope never left the community. As the Mafia movies aren't as popular as they used to be in the 80s and 90s, so you don't hear a lot of people who got names, the Sosas, you know what I mean, and stuff like that. You don't hear that anymore. But what you do get now is straight gangster / dope boy rhymes. Will we ever get a break from this? As conditions, man, systematic racism created the living conditions in America, in urban America, in rural America. The poverty is big business. So within poverty, you show me poverty, I show you crime. You show me poverty, I show you drugs. So yes, kids that's growing up in these environments are going to reflect that in their music. So there is no native tongue type of music right now. There's a few artists here and there, but most guys rap about hustling. Stove God, very popular right now, along with Griselda. Yes, I made a comment about Pusha T being the best dope boy rapper, and Griselda fans went crazy. And even though I was showing Griselda a lot of love on Twitter, I made one tweet that they ran with. It wasn't about the group Griselda. It's about some of their fans. I said, man, some of their fans got some unnecessary passion, like Tupac and Eminem fans. It's going crazy over nothing. And I'm like, I wasn't even talking about Griselda. Man, they took that tweet and screenshotted it, got it to Benny the Butcher and Conway, whoever. It's all on IG. And I'm like, okay, I got hundreds of people at me, trying to argue at me, cursing at me out, because whatever they talking about resonate with them that much. The dope boy rap, it's cool, man. But some fans, man, they really, really own it really hard. Man, I'm trying to tell you, it's ridiculous, man. But anyway, that's the influence. It's even stronger than ever because Griselda right now is very popular. You know what I'm saying? Stove Guy Kid, he has caught a lot of steam. He rocks with them some. His first album got a lot of run. I posted a picture of it on Twitter. Hundreds and hundreds of comments of people really waiting for his sophomore album. So the Dope Boy rhymes continue. It's not just Griselda, but they're the face of Dope Boy rap right now. Before them, you still had, like I said, you had a lot of New York rappers. Most boom bap hip hop was about hustling in the streets. Biggie was one of the biggest Dope Boy rappers. He really was. Niggas Bleed, 10 Crack Commandments. That's what it was about. Jay-Z, Hustler. First several albums all about hustling. They even did the DVD, Streets is Watching. It's about hustling. Do I think some kids see that and it influence some of them to hustle? You see Fast Money, cars, women, ice. You know, MC's been having a hip hop starter kit since Eric B. and Rakim with the gold chains. Then with the platinum, diamonds. Kanye West had a song "Diamonds Are Forever." Was it Diamonds of Sarah Leone, what have you? So this success and luxurious lifestyle is pumped down these kids' faces. So I do feel like the music does enhance the crime to a degree, but that's not all the fault of the artists. Of course, record labels, they're gonna sell what sell. They're gonna push what sell. That's what they're gonna do. They got life insurance on these guys, man. They make more money when these guys get killed. So they don't care. Some artists who aren't aware, they are going to rap about what they see. A lot of them are from poor communities. A lot of them didn't sell drugs like that. Come on, man. You really think some of these guys are big-time hustlers? The biggest gangsters and the biggest hustlers end up dead in jail. There's no 401k plan. These guys don't retire. You know what I'm saying? So the big guys, they didn't do that and transition to hip-hop. I mean, most of these guys, give or take, you sold a little dope. You know what I'm saying? Everybody from the hood know people sold dope. So some of the rappers did sell dope. But ain't no kingpins in hip-hop. The kingpins are them Supreme, McGriff and all these guys. Alpo and all those guys was real kingpins. You know what I'm saying? They really was in street wars. Some of the rappers just knew somebody in it. And which is fine. Nothing wrong with that. You don't need to be a gangster to be a rapper. You know what I'm saying? But you are pushing gangster tales. The clubs, the nightlife, whenever you have any of those artists come to certain communities, certain cities, they got to get clearance from the local gangsters and the local dope boys. They get extorted. And then it's violence around a lot of the clubs still. That's everywhere where if anything's close to poverty. So we acting like the dope boy rhymes is not affecting our kids. What do you think? Do you think the dope boy rhymes are affecting the kids? Do you blame American history? Is it America? Because America started all this crap. You know, the Europeans came over and started this crime wave over here. So we got a crime wave in the music. Again, we had wars, war on drugs. Yeah, our communities being targeted, still being targeted. Yeah, 18, 19-year-old guys in 1984, 85 getting 20 years. But the guys up on Fifth Ave, with the cocaine, 18 months probation, entire communities being destroyed, families being destroyed, potential being destroyed, no second chances in a lot of industries because of your record and felons. That's all from American history. So the dope boy rap, bringing it back full circle, is actually more detrimental than mafia influence rap. Because mafia influence rap it can only be in the music. Mafia infused rap can only be in the music, and it can only be entertainment. Because there's no black gangster crews that can be like the mafia was for those years. The black crews would be dope boys or in gangs, but it's all still in a small designated area in every city. When the mafia was controlling economics throughout the city, the dope boys is only gonna hurt their own community. Really, of course, if you think about the move of traffic, the war on drugs intensified when the white kids or the politicians started sniffing coke and being in rehab. And look at the issues now with drugs. You know how crack was in the 80s. Oh, but look at these drugs now. The drugs now aren't just hitting black people. So it's a public health crisis, but I digress. Dope boy rap, it's not going anywhere. It's part of the fabric of this nation. It's part of the fabric of the world. You can get drugs anywhere. If you got a couple of dollars, you can get it. If you got a lot of money, you got access to whatever you want. And unfortunately, we can't run away from this in hip hop. It just is what it is, man. So again, how do you look at mafia infused music within hip hop? How do you look at the dope boy rhymes? I don't know, man. These are just thoughts that I have, man. I appreciate you checking it out. Episode 6 complete. God bless.